Richard, scene one, take one. Do you want me to? My name's Richard. I'm a final year medical student, and I have the incredibly interesting hobby of personal finance. So a credit score is basically a number that banks will use to work out if they want to lend money to you. It's basically a function of how reliable they think you are. Everybody has a credit score. In the UK, we don't have standardized credit scores. So say in America, you might have heard of like FICO scores, which is one specific credit score that everyone has, and you'll know what your score is. In the UK, banks are a bit more secretive and they won't tell you what your credit score or how reliable they are. So the score itself is an indicator. So for example, you can get an Experian credit score or a Clear score, and they will tell you roughly what banks might think of you. And you don't know how well that will translate to what the bank actually thinks, which is why when you use comparison sites, for example, like Money Saving Expert, they will be able to tell you rough likelihoods of you being accepted for something, but won't be able to tell you certainly. So it's like a ballpark idea. It's like BMI. You wouldn't use it on its own because it doesn't really tell you anything. A high BMI might mean somebody's a bodybuilder. It might mean they are unfortunately a bit short. But on its own, it's not really telling you anything. In the same way that a really low credit score might mean that you'll have a difficult time getting a loan. But it might also be completely fine. You've got to take it in context with what goes on with you, and it's a great opportunity to sort of find out more by speaking to the person that you want to borrow money from. So whether that's a credit card, speak to the bank. If it's a mortgage, speak to your mortgage broker or the bank, and they'll be able to take it in context. The most important thing for getting a 999 credit score for me was probably starting early. Now, that's not to say that starting late is a problem. As the proverb goes, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And in the same way, whilst it benefited me that I started thinking about credit score back when I was 16, 17, which let me get everything in order, it's not a problem. As long as you start now, that's the best thing. The single most important thing I would say was probably getting a credit card. That did a few things. So it made me conscious of my credit score all the time, made me conscious of how I was using credit. It sort of meant that I was able to sort of get used to reliably using debt, making sure that I was paying it off at the end of every month, and that I was just hitting the sort of 10 to 50% bracket that some people recommend. Some banks that will specifically aim their products towards people with low credit scores. That could be people that are just starting out, like I was, or it could be people that have had some bad credit in the past or maybe haven't repaid their bills in time and things like that want to rebuild their credit score. So for example, I got a Tesco credit card because I was able to get club card points. I was buying my groceries from Tesco, so it made sense. I wanted to put one repeating thing on it every month that was sort of 10 to 50% of what my credit limit was, and that perfectly suited my Tesco shop. To find that card, I used a comparison tool which would show me the likelihoods of getting accepted to a bunch of different cards, and then I went for the one of the ones that was higher and I also liked the look of. Typically, these low credit score credit cards won't have as nice benefits. They're not going to have loads of juicy cash back and things like that. They're not going to be as beneficial, but it's just sort of a stepping stone to get you there. You're trying to build up your credit score so that you can save money in the long term by getting a mortgage and doing all of these really great things. But if you're paying 20 to 40% interest on the way there, it's not the best financial decision. What I made sure that I was doing is I set up a direct debit to pay it off in full at the end of every month. By paying it off in full at the end of every month, I didn't get charged any fees or any interest at all. Now, there are some things that will be charged to you. So for example, if you buy things that are seen as like cash equivalents, like betting and things like that, or buying money at travel agents. If you try to use your card abroad, sometimes you'll get charged for that. But in terms of paying interest on the money that you're spending with the credit card, as long as you pay it off in full at the end of the month, you shouldn't be charged. In terms of other things that you can do to work out exactly how you can improve your credit score, a lot of the time when you find out your credit score, like through Experian or ClearScore, they'll give you tips at the same time. Normally they're pretty broad stroke tips, like get on the electoral register or make sure you're paying your bills on time and things like that. But they've got your record and they're seeing what you're getting docked points for, basically. And so they will be able to tell you pretty clearly the things that you can do to improve it.